I would like to introduce our second keynote, our afternoon keynote. He is a cybersecurity, cybercrime, fraud, and identity theft expert. He's a keynote speaker, consultant, writer, podcast personality, former USA Most Wanted cybercriminal, identity theft hacker, and known as the original internet Godfather. Please welcome Mr. Brett Johnson.
Thank you. How's everyone today? All right. Let me take these glasses out so they don't fly out of the pocket. That is my United States Most Wanted picture. Yeah. I was in Las Vegas, Nevada, the night before I'd stolen $160,000 out of ATM machines. Woke up the next morning, signed on to cartersmarket.com. There's my name, most wanted beside of it. There are things in life known as aha moments. This was more of an type moment. So I did what any normal person would do. I loaded up and I went to Disney World. Yeah, you laugh, I really went to Disney World. Lasted about 6 weeks there as Secret Service. They came and got me, sent me to prison. Then I escaped from prison. Well, I prefer not to think of it as escape. I think of it as the institution could no longer benefit me, so I decided to release myself on my recognizance. Got even more time for that one. So who is this guy up here talking to you today? United States Secret Service called me the original internet Godfather. What on earth does it take to get a title like that? 39 felonies. United States Most Wanted list, an escape from prison, and I built the first organized cybercrime community, Shadow Crew. Shadow Crew was the foundation of today's darknet markets, and it laid the path to the way modern cybercrime channels still operate today. Now, that's not where I began my life of crime. No, I actually began much earlier, 10 years old. I come from Eastern Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky is one of these areas like the Panhandle of Florida, parts of Louisiana. If you're not fortunate enough to have a job, you might be involved in scams or fraud. My mom was like the captain of the entire fraud industry. No crime too big or too small, from stealing a 108,000-pound Caterpillar D9 bulldozer to taking a slip and fall in a convenience store and trying to sue the owner. That was my mom. She was an abusive parent. Not physically. I mean, she could be, but mentally, emotionally, verbally. Used to parade men in front of my dad. My dad was not like that. He loved my mom so much that he was an enabler. He let it go on. If she came up with an idea for fraud or crime, he was, yeah, let's do that. He didn't want to lose her until finally she left. And we were in Panama City, Florida. We moved from Panama City back to Hazard, Kentucky, like the Dukes. Moved to Hazard. Mom kept up partying, committing crime. She used to leave me and my sister. I was 10, my sister Denise, 9. She'd leave us alone for days at a time. And I was always that kid. I got the worst bits from my mom and my dad. My mom, I get that criminal mindset. My dad, I get that fear of being abandoned. You know, I'm always scared the people in my life that I love are going to leave me. So I was always the kid when mom was gone that would post up at the window looking outside, see if she's coming back, or I'd walk outside to the driveway, see if she's driving down the street. Denise wasn't like that. Denise was the kid who just got angry. So mom had been gone for a few days. We didn't have any food in the house. I was posted up at the window, wondering if she was ever going to come home at all. Denise, she walks in, she's got this pack of pork chops. And I'm like, where'd you get that? And she was like, I stole them. And I'm like, show me how you did that. So she takes me over and she shows me how she steals food, and I'm like, hey, that's the best idea ever. So we start stealing food, look across the way, well, there's Kmart. Kmart's got clothes. Take clothes, and it turns into this like perverted form of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Books, games, jewelry, music, toys, yes! Until mom comes home, notices the ill-gotten loot, and asks where it came from. Now, when you're 10 years old, you can't lie very well, and I've always been that liar. Look at my mom, we found it. She's like, no, you didn't find that. Denise didn't lie at all. She stands up half proud, half pissed off. We stole it. My mom looks at my sister. Show me how you did that. She joins us. Not only does she join us, but she goes and gets her mom to join us as well. We become this intergenerational shoplifting ring in Eastern Kentucky. Used to take these road trips. They'd go to JCPenney's and steal clothes and jewelry and stuff. I'd go to the bookstore and steal books because that's the guy that I am. Well, they ended up getting caught. I did not. So I kept going. And don't think, I'm not trying to say that my upbringing resulted in my choices as an adult. I'm not. My sister, for example, turned out to be an outstanding human being. Great parent, great teacher. That was the only time she broke the law, right there. Me, I'm the kid who didn't quit. I kept going. And finally, as I get older, I get more involved in the types of crime that side of the family is committing. Until finally in 1994, I financed my first marriage by faking a car accident, claiming the insurance money on it. Now, again, I'm that guy that got married, and I didn't want my wife, I didn't want to lose her. I was afraid she might leave. So I had a full class load, full 40-hour job, every week, doing all the cooking, cleaning. I was like, I'll take care of that. Well, something had to give. I couldn't do it all. Well, that proclivity toward fraud I've already got, the job gave. Well, you still have to eat. So I had no idea how, but I was going to find money somehow until one day I find eBay. I'm like, that's a nice website. No idea how to make money on it, but there had to be a way. One night I'm watching TV, Inside Edition. There's Bill O'Reilly talking about Beanie Babies. How many people remember Beanie Babies? Oh, yeah. These were the high-dollar collectible back then. This one, Peanut the Royal Blue Elephant, sold for $1,500. I'm sitting there watching it like, $1,500? I need to find me a Peanut. Next day I skip class, go around to all the Hallmark stores looking for Peanut. You can't find him. He's on eBay for $1,500. But they've got all these little gray elephants for $8. Buy a gray elephant, $8. Stop by the grocery store on the way home, pick up a pack of blue Rit dye. Go home, try to dye the little guy. Well, he's made out of polyester, doesn't hold dye very well. Get him out of the bath, looks like he's got mange. Still, what? I ended up ripping a lady off for $1,500 for that. Yeah. Posted a fake picture online. She thought I had the real thing. She wins the bid. I send her a message. Hey, I don't know if I can trust you. I've never done business with you before, so what I need you to do is I need you to send me a U.S. postal money order. Once that clears, I'll send you your elephant. Well, she did that. I send the elephant out the next week, immediately get a phone call. This is not what I ordered. My response, lady, you ordered a blue elephant. I sent you a blue-ish elephant. That's where I learned my first lesson of cybercrime. That first lesson is, if you delay a victim long enough, if you keep putting them off, a lot of them get so exasperated they throw their hands up in the air, walk away, and you never hear from them again. And very, very few of them ever reported to law enforcement. First lesson of cybercrime. I continued from there. That was a very low-tech crime. I continued advancing, started selling pirated software. Pirated software led into installing mod chips into cable boxes and video game systems so you could play the software, watch all the channels. Finally, in the late 90s, a Canadian judge ruled that it was legal for Canadians to pirate satellite DSS signals, those small 18-inch dishes. Canadian judge said, oh yeah, since RCA doesn't sell them up here, it's not illegal for my citizens to pirate it. So overnight, that opened up an entire industry in the United States. You go down to Best Buy, buy the system for $100, pull the card out, literally throw the system away in the parking lot, pull the card out, program it, ship it up to Canada, $500. Started doing that, making a lot of money. Had so many orders, could not fill them all. So I thought to myself, well, why do I need to fill any of them? They're in Canada. I'm down here. It's illegal. Who are they going to complain to? So I didn't fill any of them, made even more money. So much so that I got worried about how much was coming in, figured the best thing that I could do is get a fake ID, open up a bank account under that name, launder the money through that. Now you would think being at university I would know where to get a fake ID. Not a clue. Get online, look around, think I find a guy, send him $200, send him my picture, he rips me off. Yeah, I'm still mad about that one. Well, I get angry. I get so angry that it leads to shadowcrew.com. Shadowcrew was, as I said, the precursor to today's darknet markets. Before Shadowcrew, cybercrime really wasn't organized. Shadowcrew makes the front cover of Forbes, August 2004, headline, Who's Stealing Your Identity? October 26, 2004, United States Secret Service arrests 33 people, 6 countries, 6 hours, and I'm the only guy that got away. Picked me up a few months later and give me a job. Yeah. Some of the people I worked with. The guy in the glasses, David Thomas. He was a hardened one. He was a con man, a grifter. He was on the run from Nebraska for check fraud. We were so organized at that point when he met us, he had no money. We took up a collection for him, and I got him a job working with some Ukrainians, specifically a guy named Big Buyer. David, working with Big Buyer, gets arrested in Issaquah, Washington. He flips, goes to work for the FBI. No idea where he is today. I think he may still be in witness protection. Who knows? The guy in the suit, David Appleyard. He is a retired mortgage broker. He gave up brokering mortgages because he had a taste for the illicit side of life. He gets 5 years in prison. The guy in the middle, me, 7.5 years. The guy with the flag behind him, Dmitry Golubov. He ran a site called Carter Planet. If you want to know where modern credit card theft begins, it begins with him. He saw the success we were having to another website called Counterfeit Library, liked it. He was a spammer getting all this credit card information, decided that, hey, maybe people might buy that. Builds Carter Planet. The problem was at the time in Ukraine, you could not run cards through there, even legal ones. He had to partner with someone. He partnered with Shadow Crew. And that's the advent of modern cyber or credit card theft as we see it today. The guy in the bottom, Roman Vega. How many people in the room know what a credit card dump is? Got a few hands. For those who don't, on the back of your credit or debit card, there's a magnetic stripe there. On that magnetic stripe are 3 data tracks. The first data track is the customer's name. Second data track is the card number, =, 16-digit algorithm out beside of that. Third data track is called indiscriminate data. No one uses it. What's sold on these marketplaces and forums is the second data track, and here's why. As a criminal, what happens is when you swipe or when you insert the chip, the only information that's sent to the payment processor or to the bank to verify that the card is valid is the second data track. The first data track is never sent. So what a criminal can do is he can buy 10 of these things, make one ID, change track 1 on every single card to whatever name is on the ID. When he swipes it, inserts the chip, it shows up on the terminal at the merchant of the correct name that's on the ID. Meanwhile, the only information sent to the bank is the second data track. Back then, those things sold for roughly $30. Today, those things sell for roughly $30. He ends up with 17 years in prison. Guy with the goatee. He started out as our forum techie. He goes on to be the largest credit card thief in history. Heartland Payment Systems, Dave & Buster's, TJ Maxx, Albert Gonzalez is his name. He ends up with not 1, but 2 20-year sentences. Guy in the orange, that is Max Butler, 60 million credit cards. I think he ends up with 13 years in prison. Guy in the black and white, Maxik or Maxime, a Turkish national. He worked with Albert, was arrested with Albert. They got him at an airport in Turkey. He had TrueCrypt on his laptop. The entire thing was encrypted. They looked at him and said, "We need the key to that." He was like, "I'm not giving you the key to that." They're like, "We got a place for you." They throw him in a Turkish jail for 11 days, at which point he promptly gives them the key. And at which point they promptly give him 30 years. I have seen Midnight Express. I'm not sure he's still alive. Guy in the bottom. Guy in the bottom. That's Jonathan James. He didn't get any prison time. Very, very competent hacker. Very young. Broke in NASA, Pentagon, a few other places. Once he got out of that trouble, decided he wanted to try credit card theft. He partners with Albert Gonzalez, was arrested with Albert. Whether true or not, it was true enough for him. He thought that law enforcement was going to lay the blame of those breaches at his doorstep. So what does he do? Gets up, walks in his dad's bedroom, gets out the .45, walks in the bathroom, writes a note, steps in the shower, blows his brains out. That's the end of Albert. Or not Albert, but Jonathan. Now, why do I show you these things? 2 reasons. The first is that no one who is ever involved in cybercrime ever comes to a good end. It always goes south. Always. If you're lucky, you end up with 7.5. If you're not, you end up with a bullet in the head, or like the owner of Evolution Marketplace, you end up on a beach in Cyprus without your hands and head. That's what happens. The second reason, no one up here is wearing a hoodie. No one's 400 pounds living in their mom's basement, screaming, "Mom, bring me a sandwich and cut the crust off," with the Matrix background going in the back. That is not what a cybercriminal looks like. We have this perception that cybercriminals are these high-tier computer geniuses able to break in any type of computer system they want to. Like, gotcha! Not so much. Those type of attackers are out there, but they're very, very few in number. The 99% plus, no. They're simply very good social engineers. They know what it takes to manipulate a person. They understand human psychology. They can get that person to give up access, data, information that they usually wouldn't give up. That's most of it. Reasons people commit crime or reasons for cybercrime? Just 3. Status, cash, ideology. Status. If you're able to break into a system, defraud a website that no one else is able to, you earn the respect of everyone else within your community. Ideology. Russian election. What North Korea does. What Russia does. China. Cash. Most of it's cash. We're seeing a transition from cash to ideology now, but most of it is still cash. All these guys I showed you, cash. Me, cash. Cash. I guess I could say maybe I'm a little different. I don't think so. I mean, with me it wasn't the cash per se. It was what I could do with it. I'm one of these guys that I buy love. I'm not talking about strippers and escorts. I mean, I did that. I'm talking about the people who are important to me. I mean, the people who are important to me. It's not enough for me to tell them that I love them. I have to show it. I have to give them some expensive item. This is what my love is worth to you. That's what drives me most of the time when I commit fraud and crime. When I went to prison, my entire plan was to get out and do the exact same thing again. No doubt about it. I can go back to tax. If anybody's wondering why their tax returns are delayed every single year, it's this SOB in front of you. I'm the guy who started that, tax return identity theft. Went to prison, I was like, I can make that back pretty quick. Why wait? Let's escape now. That's why I escaped. I mean, why delay? Let's start now. What happened was my sister. That's what happened. She had, I got married, my wife. I was married to my first wife for 9 years. Lied to her the first 3 years. She thought I was an eBay reseller until the cops start showing up at the door, and it was like, well, okay, I'm reselling items that don't exist. So then it was another 6 years of lying to her all the time. Oh, I'm going to stop. I've stopped. Oh, I've quit. Don't worry about it. Oh, it's not as serious as you think. Until she finally had enough of those lies and left. And when she left, that fear of being abandoned, that became real. Even though it was my fault, it was all of a sudden real to me. I went crazy. I went through this horrible depression, started seeing a psychologist. Told the psychologist everything. She's trying to talk me going to real estate, and she's doing some good until one night I get lonely. And, I have to talk to somebody. So, idiot here. First time I'd ever been, I go to a strip club. And I'm that guy that literally falls in love with the first stripper that he sees. No kidding. I walk in the door, she walks by, I'm like, that would be the girl for me. Because of that, my sister disowned me. Wouldn't speak to me, didn't talk to me for a year. I mean, the crime, she would put up with the crime, but that stripper, that, sir, was the line in the sand. Didn't talk to me for a year until I escaped. Went to sentencing and everything else. Got sentenced to prison, escaped from prison. My dad, I'm in Lexington, Kentucky. My dad comes to visit. He's like, son, can I do anything for you? I'm like, Dad, you can tell my sister I said I love her. He goes and calls Denise. Denise is in North Carolina. Gets in the car, drives 7.5 hours, comes see her dumbass brother. She's pregnant. Drives 7.5 hours, comes see her dumbass brother, tell me she loves me. And after that, I'm sent out to Texas for 5.5 years, and I don't see her again for a while. That's what turned me around, was that. And let's be fair, when I escaped, they sent me to a real prison after that in West Texas. Anybody been to West Texas? Got a few hands. I was in Big Spring. I didn't know what that was. I get there, and literally it gets so hot that warnings come on the radio telling you what streets not to drive on because they're melted. Melted? Anyone have any idea how hard it is to plan an escape on melted streets? Doesn't happen. I also found out that's when I found out what a real prison is. Found out guards don't run prisons, inmates run prisons, specifically gangs. You're met at the door by whatever race you are. I walk in, it's a converted Air Force compound, everyone's in barracks. I walk in, I'm met at the door by the treasurer of the Aryan Brotherhood. Treasurer, yes, they collected Jews. He looks at me. Hey, man, any more white guys come in? I'm like, 4 or 5? He's like, what are you in here for? Computer crime. Nope. Can't say computer crime in prison. Computer crime in prison doesn't mean hacking. It doesn't mean credit cards, these forums, tax returns, anything else like that. No. Computer crime in prison means child pornography. So I had mistakenly told the Aryan Brotherhood I was a pedophile. He goes and gets all of his buddies. They circle around. What'd you say you in here for? Here I am, I'm telling them all this kind of stuff. They're like, it sounds really good, but you still said computer crime. So for the first month, everyone thinks I'm this pedophile. I have to watch every place I go, but that's okay. That's okay, because at the end of that first month, Wired magazine comes on the compound. I'm in it. It's talking about all this hacking and credit card stuff and everything. And then it's got this one line that says, Brett Johnson, Secret Service informant. Oh, see, you ain't a pedophile. You just a snitch. Warden calls me in. Do you feel safe? Yes, sir. Well, see, the problem is if you tell them you don't feel safe, they throw you in the hole for 8 months until they transfer you. I just got out of doing 8 months of solitary on the escape. So I'm like, yes, sir, I feel completely safe. He's like, let me know if anything goes on. They try to confiscate all the magazines from the compound. They can't. Almost impossible. Next day I walk in. There's the treasurer. He has the magazine, reading it. I'm like, oh, shit. Walk up to him. Hey, Nick, what you doing? He's like, oh, just doing some reading. Anything interesting? It's getting there. Let me save you the trouble. Take the magazine, show him the line. Do we have a problem? Well, did you tell anybody that's here right now? No. Well, until someone gets here you snitched on, we ain't got a problem. By the way, I need you to talk to some people for me. Now, in prison, every single person has to work. Doesn't matter what you do, you got to have a job. I got a job in education, teaching a book club literature class. Every Wednesday, 6 to 8:30 p.m., book lit. For some odd reason, every single Aryan on the compound signed up for this book lit class. Now, did we teach lit every Wednesday, 6 to 8:30? Not so much. Every Wednesday, 6 to 8:30, we taught fraud. Whatever you guys need to know, help me, help you, I'm here for you. And that's how I kept my ass from being beaten, and I didn't have to join a gang. And even that, I went through that. I went through 3 riots, saw 2 people literally beaten to death, saw 4 suicides. Even that is not what turned me around. Sister turned me around. Took 2.5 years. Took 2.5 years of that environment. And I'd always blame my crime on my family. Oh, I did it for my family. I did it for my wife. I did it for my stripper girlfriend. And I convinced myself of that. Took 2.5 years for me to get to the point, no, I did it because I chose to do it. Got out in 2011. No taste of breaking the law whatsoever. 3 years probation, could not touch a computer. Had job offers from Deloitte, from No Before Fishing, couldn't take them. Okay. Got to where I was trying to apply for fast food. No, that's a computer. Okay, what about a waiter's position? No, that's a computer and credit cards, idiot. So I couldn't get a job, didn't have any money. I was bumming money from my dad, from my sister. Had a roommate taking care of half the rent. I was on food stamps so I could eat. Didn't have any money. Had a cat. Had enough money to feed my cat. And I didn't have enough money to buy toilet paper. Go to the store, buy the cat some food, and on the way out, they've got this kiosk there of toilet paper. It's the first crime I committed when I got out, right there. And I'm lucky that what happened was my wife now, Michelle, she ended up finding me right about that same time. I didn't find her. Hell, I was dating the same women I had been dating. It's like I had a sign that said, send me back to prison. So we ended up meeting. I ended up moving with her about 2 months later. Finally got a job. The only job I could get was pushing on a lawnmower. That was it. Manual labor. And you can probably tell by looking at me, I am not the manual labor type of guy. Even when I escaped from prison, I didn't run so much as just walk quickly. So here I'm pushing that lawnmower. I'm wearing myself out. So tired every day. I come in, literally pass out, wake up the next morning, take a shower, hit it again. 10 hours a day. I'm making $400 a week, and I'm happy, man. I'm like, I'm doing something. I'm happy. I'm happy. It gets cold, though. It's cold. You can't mow the grass. My job ends. That reason I commit crime, that pops up again. got to do something. I got to show her I'm worth it. She's the only one working. I got to show her I'm worth it. So I'm like, nothing else, maybe I can bring food in the house. Let's do that. So what's the idiot here do? Get online, get some stolen credit card data, start ordering food, get caught, go back to prison. 10 months. And my sentencing probation officer, he stands up for me. We think he's a good guy. We think this is a one-time thing. Prosecutor says the exact same thing. I still get 10 months. Michelle didn't leave me during that. She didn't even hesitate. I mean, she didn't question it. She's just right there. So when I found out she didn't need me for what I could give her, she needed me for me. But I'm not sure I'd had that since my sister. So I served my 10 months, get out, get married shortly thereafter. Of course, I've still got the same problem. You look at my resume, who's going to hire me? I'm the guy who stole everything. And I know how much I'll go. I know how long I'll go before I break the law again. So I looked at Michelle and I was like, let me see what I can do. I'm off probation now, so I can get on a computer. Go sign up for LinkedIn, of all places. Reach out to this guy named Keith Malarski, FBI super cop. He retired last week. He was involved with the Shadow Crew arrests, Silk Road, all these major cybercrime arrests over the years. Probably the most well-versed person on the planet on the legal side as far as cybercrime goes. Sent him a note there. I was like, hey, I think you did a great job. A lot of respect. You were outstanding. And by the way, I'd like to be legal. And the guy, he believed me. Takes me under his wing, gives me references, advice. That's where it started. From there, it was the head of the Identity Theft Council, Card Not Present group. Microsoft comes in and hires me. The reason I'm here today is that same reason. It's not because I've done anything. The only thing I've done is not break the law. It's just that these people have came out and given me a chance to kind of take me under their wing, giving this guy who used to do nothing but break the law an opportunity to do good. So today, I run anglerfish.com, basically my platform to bitch about security. Speak all over the planet. Thank you. Speak all over the planet. Have a podcast at onlinefraudcast.com. Consult with Fortune 50, Fortune 500 companies. Work with bank security companies, retail groups, law enforcement, consumer groups like the Identity Theft Council, AARP, CNP, and others. Of course, what we're here today, after that long story of who Brett Johnson is, what we're here today to talk about is cybercrime. Before Shadow Crew, if you were trying to engage in cybercrime, where you had to go was basically an IRC message board, basically a rolling chat line where you'd get in there and you'd try to figure out who had data, who could actually commit crimes, who you could work and network and operate with, who you could trust. That was really the only platform you had to do that with. Shadow Crew solved that problem. Shadow Crew gives a trust mechanism for criminals to use. A criminal can go in, he can gauge what vendors are good, what vendors have what products, how good the products are, how you can order them, how you can stay safe, how you can stay secure, all these other things. It allows a criminal to do this, to network with others, to be a more efficient, better crook. It stays like that until two things happen. Tor and Bitcoin. How many people in the room collect Bitcoin? A couple of hands, $6,400 or $6,400 today, right? The reason Bitcoin is at $6,400 today is not the blockchain. The blockchain is outstanding tech, but it is not going for $6,500 for a Bitcoin because of blockchain. It's going because of this guy right here, Ross Ulbricht. Ross Ulbricht set up a site called Silk Road. On that site, it was on the Tor network, or the dark web. On that site, the only payment form he accepted was Bitcoin. Now, this is one of his quotes, and it bears reading, so let's do that. I want to use economic theory as a means to abolish the use of coercion and aggression amongst mankind. Just as slavery has been abolished most everywhere, I believe violence, coercion, and all forms of force by one person over another can come to an end. Now, he believed that. He believed that. How did he choose to implement it? By becoming the largest drug dealer on the planet. That's exactly what he did. They arrested him in San Francisco, confiscated $24 million worth of Bitcoin. By all accounts, he hadn't really spent any of it. He had taken one vacation. He was living in a room for let. The other money he had spent trying to hire hitmen to take out the competition. He gets not 1, but 2 life sentences. Compared to this cat, Alexander Kazas, you will note the Lamborghini in the background. Now, he ran Alphabet. Alphabet was the largest criminal network on the planet when it was shut down July 5th of last year. How big was it? Let's give you an idea. When Shadow Crew was shut down in 2004, we ended with 4,000 members. When Alphabet was shut down July 5th of last year, 240,000 members. Things have grown quickly, and they will continue to grow. Now, the difference between the two, the Lamborghini in the back, anyone have an idea why Alexander Kazas committed those crimes? Cash. Whereas Ross was ideology. Now, it's important to understand, even though the end result may be the same, it's important to understand why a criminal attacks you. If you understand why you're going to be attacked, you can better prepare defenses for how you're going to be attacked. These marketplaces these guys run, they're kind of an extension of this larger communication channel. So you have the forum structure, that large communication channel where you can gauge trust, know who to buy from, know who to work with, everything else. In order to buy items, one of the offshoots of that are these marketplaces these guys run. Now, these forums and marketplaces exist because of the necessities of cybercrime. And there's basically 3 necessities. When you're looking at breaking a cyber law, there are 3 things you have to do. You have to gather data, you have to commit the crime, and you have to cash out. The problem is that a criminal is not good in all 3 things. A criminal is good in 1 thing. Sometimes he's good in 2, very rare can he do all 3. That's why these marketplaces and forums exist. They allow that criminal to network with other criminals who are good in areas where he is not. One example, Tesco Bank. Actually, that's a nice slide there. But one of the examples, Tesco Bank, November 2016, on Alphabet, brand new member. He comes on, he makes 1 post. That post says, hey, for the past year, I've been able to hit this bank $1,000 a week, no flags. 2 weeks later, Tesco's hit for $2.5 million. Now, how did that happen? That guy, the initial guy who posted that, he knew he had the information. He did not understand how to scale the crime up. He certainly didn't understand how to cash out properly. But by him posting it, someone within that 240,000 member structure notices the post. They say to themselves, well, he's not bragging. Doesn't look like he's embellishing. Looks like he's just telling the truth. I think I'll go over and talk to him. So he goes over, talks to him. Now, if Alphabet were still up, you could track it from that point. That second gentleman who knew how to commit the crime, what he does is he posts advertisements for cashiers. Hey, send me your resumes. We're going to make a lot of money. He gets cashiers from the EU, the UK, Brazil, the United States to the tune of 2.5 million. That organization of cybercrime, that structure, is what turns a $1,000 a week crime into a $2.5 million crime. The secret behind it all? It's not rocket science. These crimes are not technical, sophisticated crimes. Specifically, Tesco. Tesco had a series of failures. First of all, their card numbers. The algorithm, hell, they were sequential numbers. They were sequential numbers. FCI and Visa issued a warning in 2015 saying, hey, you guys better watch out for that. Tesco just ignored it. So when the crime starts to happen, usually what happens are these crooks, like I used to be, they go and they start testing things. Is this working? Is this working? So when Tesco starts noticing these test trials coming through, Tesco does nothing about it. They sit on it until finally they're hit for 2.5, and then they try to react. How did the crooks do it? Cell phone input. They had those little payment services, those cashless payment or cardless payment services. Did that, go up the terminal. That's how they cashed out at 2.5. Not complicated to do that. We see that over and over and over again with cybercrime these days. A new guy coming in, he doesn't have to know anything. He can buy a tutorial for $50. It will walk him through every step of a specific crime. If he's not confident with using a tutorial, that's okay. He can take a live class. $600, 6-week instruction. Master criminal, master fraudster takes you by the hand, walks you through step by step, and he guarantees it. It has a guarantee that says if you don't make money by the time my class ends, I'll refund your $600. And they mean that because there's so many sellers now, it's not a business anymore, it's its own economy. There's so many sellers and vendors now that everyone has these products, so you have to have good customer service to get people to come to you. Identities, everyone's information is out there. You can buy someone's complete identity profile for as low as $40. Ranges up to $130 depending on the location, the gender, the credit score. Children, #1 victims of identity theft. #1 victims, 25%, 1 in 4 children will be a victim of ID theft. You can buy them at will. How much? $2.08. $2.08. Most of these crimes have an element of identity theft. Matter of fact, when I ran Shadow Crew, we were also one of these teaching sites. One of the lessons I taught people was all crime should begin with identity theft. Why? Why would I set up a bank account under my name if I can do it under yours? Especially if you're local. That way when the cops show up, it's kind of like an early warning system. I know to move on. All crime should begin with identity theft. For example, if I'm buying credit cards. So a credit card, if I buy what's called a CVV, CVVs sell for $6 to $20. What a CVV is, it's a person's name, address, email, telephone number, card number, expiration date, 3-digit security code on the back. Ranges $6 to $20 depending on the location, the bin, the gender. The bin, #1 bin right now, 414720. It has been since at least 2013. 414720. That's the first 6 digits of the card. That's a Chase signature card. Criminals love it right now because it goes through most everywhere. So, if I buy a card like that, I can immediately use that information for $500 to $1,000 worth of product or services, but that card's probably got $15K available on it. Why would I waste the other $14,000? In order to maximize that card's potential, I have to have a complete identity profile or what's called a Fullz. That's what criminals call that. When you look at buying it online, that $40 to $130 profile, this is the information you get. You get the person's name, address, phone number, driver's license, social security, date of birth, mother's maiden, credit check, background check, any social media lookups that are interesting, like LinkedIn. So that runs $40 to $130. You need that to do an ATO, and we're going to talk about ATO or account takeover here in a minute. So you need that because in the United States, everything's based on KBA, knowledge-based authentication questions. If I have the security questions, if I have the answers to those, I can take over any account that I want to take over. Now I can buy those or I can create them. How easy is it to create? It's pretty easy. There's the steps. What you do is go buy a bank login, credit card on a dark net, or it could be a Surface website. Hell, you can buy them on Facebook right now. So you buy the credit card data on Facebook. You're going to need the social date of birth. You go to robocheck.cm. There's a new site now, but I think I may show that slide in a second. You go to robocheck.cm for $2.90. I can pull someone's social date of birth. It gives me the address history for free. It's a criminal website, so you can't opt out of that site. Once I have the social date of birth, I go and I use legal websites, Ben Verified, Spokio, Intellius. I pull the background check not only on the victim, but every single associate of the victim in the hopes of getting the mother's maiden name. Not very difficult to get that. Once I do that, where do I go from there? I need the credit report. Annualcreditreport.com is where I go. Why? They ask KBA questions, but there's no time limit. So I can sit there all day long with a background check, with a Google, and find out all the answers. If I get it wrong, that's okay, because then I can go over to Credit Karma. They ask the exact same KBA questions, different answers except for the right answer. Now I have the credit report. From there, LinkedIn, Facebook, any type of cleanup work that I need to do. How long does that take? About 20 minutes. And here's what we need to realize about information. Everyone's information is out there. The idea that your information has not been compromised is incorrect. Everyone's information is out there. Last year alone, there were 1,500 breaches. Of those, and those were just reported. 1,500 reported breaches. Of those reported breaches, 2.6 billion records compromised. Your information is out there. It does not matter your status in life, how important, how unimportant you are, how rich, how poor you are. To illustrate that, I have taken the opportunity of pulling up the information of one Donald J. Trump, because I too believe in making America great again. That is his social security number. That is his date of birth. That was $2.90. Everyone's information is out there. What can you do once you have it? Any number of things. How many people in the room know what synthetic fraud is? Got a couple of hands. For those who don't, let's walk through that. Synthetic fraud is the fastest growing form of identity theft on the planet. It's 80% of all new account fraud. It is a cornerstone of organized cybercrime now. What is it? In 2011, the Social Security Administration, they randomized Social Security numbers. meaning you could no longer tell the year or the state it was issued from. Now, they did that to combat identity theft, because prior to 2011, if I had the last 4 of your social, if I knew enough about you, I could get the first 5. They did it to stop that. But when they did that, what happens is it allows a criminal to fabricate social security numbers out of thin air, or to use a child's social security number, build up the credit, cash out. How does that work? Typically, you buy a kid's social security number, $2.08. You then you're only going to use the social. You then put a different name to it, an adult date of birth, an address, a phone number. You apply for credit. Credit bureaus don't know you exist until you tell them you exist. If they've never seen that information before, what happens is that initial application for credit is denied. But when it's denied, it actually builds a profile, a credit report with that information. So you now have that ghost in the system. That synthetic identity is in the credit bureau system. Now, it has a 0 credit score. It's a very thin file. The idea is to pump up that credit score as fast as possible, cash out as quickly as possible. How hard is that? It's not very difficult. First thing you need to take care of is any type of open source intel. So what you basically do is you go to listyourself.net. It's a free white pages listing service. You input that synthetic information in there. A couple weeks later, that address is linked not only online, but physically to that name. That address will start getting dummy mail or spam mail, physical spam mail, to that address in that name. Same time, any type of crawlers that are out there that are looking for that name associated with that address will be. You also apply for rewards cards, airline, grocery, pharmacy. You may want to build a Facebook page if you want to. You don't have to. That takes care of open source intel. Next thing is you go to Capital One. Anyone here from Capital One before I start? Thank God, let's talk about them. All right, next thing you do is you go to Capital One. Why? You go there to apply for a secured credit card. Why Capital One? Because for $49, Capital One gives you a $200 credit line. You're automatically making money on that synthetic profile. Now, that doesn't do a damn thing for your credit score. You might have a 560. The idea, again, is to get that credit score popped up as quickly as possible. Fortunately, in the United States, we have this thing called credit piggybacking, authorized user trade lines. It's legal, and this is the way it works. So say I have bad credit. What I can do is I can go to you. I know you have good credit, so I'll come up to you. Hey, I know you got good credit. You know I got bad credit, just got out of prison. Why don't you add me on as an authorized user of your credit card? No, it's all right. I don't actually access your credit card. I don't have that information. No, and it doesn't mess with your credit at all. Okay, well, you do that, and you'll look at me and you'll say, Brett, you look trustworthy. I think I will do that. So you'll add me on. The next reporting cycle of that one specific card, that card's history then becomes my credit history. That card's history then becomes my credit history. If the debt ratio is good enough, if the card has been open long enough, if the available balance is high enough, what I can do with a synthetic identity is add 2 of these trade lines on. It pops from a 0 to a 760 plus in 30 to 40 days. What can I do then? What do you want to do? If you're unexperienced, you can immediately cash out for $20,000 in loans, ATVs, what have you. You can use the old school identity theft trick of getting the accounts open, making payments for a few months, cashing out at 30 to 40K. Or you can do what some people may have read about in news reports, and that's mixing real stuff with synthetic identity information. And here's how that works. I go to robocheck.cm, pull your social, your date of birth, $2.09. The only thing I'm going to do with that is apply for an EIN, an employer identification number. That's the only thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to get the EIN. At the same time, I'm going to buy a kid's social security number for $2. I'm going to use your name on it, your date of birth, different address, different phone number. I'm going to build that synthetic profile up to that 760. Once I have that synthetic profile using your name, I'm going to take that profile, the EIN, I'm going to mix them together, I'm going to apply for business credit. Why? The initial application for business credit doesn't look at the business. It looks at the person applying for credit. That person, that synthetic person, has a 760. Why business credit? Because that credit line is $200,000. It takes about 6 months to do that. It's extremely popular within organized cybercrime communities these days. The problem is that banks don't really recognize it as fraud. Once it gets out of the credit bureau system, banks recognize that as a real person. So to them, they're just not paying the bills, that person isn't. And they don't catalog it as fraud so much as did not pay. Meanwhile, the criminal has, if he's using a kid's ID, has 12, 13, 14-year head start. Once the child does become credit worthy or time to apply for credit, then they find out they've been a victim. By that point, it's too late to do anything about it, except try to clean up the mess. It's the fastest growing form of identity theft on the planet. What else can you do with stealing people's information? Whoops, new account fraud. New account fraud. So EMV, the chip, has really shut down a lot of physical credit card theft or carding. So you can't really walk in with a counterfeit card much anymore and get product. You can if you're using the right type of information, but it's becoming more rare and more rare as time goes on. These guys are not going to quit. They're not going to go down and get a job at McDonald's flipping burgers. This is their job. This is their career. So they're going to shift from that to some other type of fraud. Most of it is going over to CNP, card not present fraud. A good portion is also going over to new account fraud. And basically what that is once you get someone's complete identity profile, you look at the credit report, where don't they have accounts? Let's set up accounts there. Now to get those accounts open, you have to have access to the card. So you have to get the card. Now there's a few ways you can do that. You can first of all steal the mail. It's pretty easy to do that. You go through a neighborhood, you find a neighborhood that it's a working class neighborhood. Hopefully your neighbors have their blinds drawn during the day. The mailbox is next to the street. As you pull by, the doorway is open so that you can see the doorway from the road. The idea being that a criminal does not want to have to pull in the driveway 4 or 5 times to check and see if a package or an envelope is at the front door. Idea being if the blinds are drawn on your neighbors are not paying attention. If it's a working class neighborhood, people are gone during the day. You also want to know what time the mail runs. So you find a neighborhood like that, you start pulling people's information through Spokio or something like that. Who lives there? Then you build a profile on those people. You can do it like I showed you earlier. You can go through TLO, which is TransUnion software. You can go through DelphPoint, anything else like that. It'll give you enough information to apply for cards. You apply for the cards, have them shipped to the address on file, go steal the mail out of the box or off the front porch. Easy enough. 2 guys did it in Atlanta. Cashed out over 2 months, actually put cash in pocket. They pulled the information of everybody on one single street, opened up accounts for everybody on that street, went down and stole the mail off everyone's porch. $600,000 is what they actually put in pocket in 2 months. Of course, they were arrested, but still, that's the type of news report that a criminal reads that, and he's like, that's a good idea. So you can steal the mail. If you don't want to steal the mail, that's okay. You can change the address or do mail forwarding. How easy is that? You walk into the post office. Walk into the post office, fill out a form. If you are afraid your face might be on camera, that's okay. You can go down to Walmart, buy a prepaid debit card, register it in the name of the victim, put $10 on it, you go to USPS.com, costs you $1. The only thing they're wanting is a card registered in the name of the victim. They will do the mail forwarding and change of address. Of course, there are notices sent out to both addresses, but those notices look like spam mail. Very few people read them. And of course, the envelopes have do not forward on the envelopes for these credit and debit cards. Does not really matter. About 50% of them go through anyway. That's one of the more popular ways. You can ATO low-level account. By that I mean you look at the credit report, you're looking for hopefully a utility on there, just a utility. You call in, you spoof the phone number of the account holder, meaning that customer service sees the account holder's phone number, not the number you're calling from. You call in, spoof it. I just need to update my billing information. That's the only thing I need to do. No change of address, just update billing information. Address is still at the same service. They don't even ask a security question on that. Yes, we'll update it. Because it's on the credit report, when they update the billing address for you, it puts that new address on the credit report, allowing you to open up new accounts. You can do the dispute process. You go online to Experian. This worked all last summer. You go to Experian, you get to start a dispute process on their website. You'd put the address of whatever you wanted to be on the credit report as the criminal. You wouldn't have to press submit at all. You just put the address in there. Experian would scrape that and add it to the credit report. That worked like a charm for at least 6 months. You can social engineer the account, meaning you spoof the phone number, call in, and say, hey, I'm on vacation. My wife is spending all this money. And try to get them to send the card someplace else. Or you do the age-old trick of simply applying for credit. You just apply for credit with whatever the drop address is. It will be denied. 30 to 60 days later, that address that you used is added to the credit report as well. That's new account fraud. ATO, account takeover. We used to call it change of billing back when I was committing crime. So account takeover, what is that? That's basically coming in, taking over someone's account so you can really ramp things up. Milk all the money out of the bank account, take over the credit card, charge wherever you want to, ship to different addresses, everything else. To do that, you have to have the complete identity profile. You have to have the security answers to the security questions. Not hard to get, as I've already shown. If you're doing that today, you have to know whether the company, the bank, let's use a bank for example, whether the bank has two-factor authentication. Do they have two-factor? If they don't, I'll show you how it works both ways. If they do have two-factor and it's email, that's useless anyway. If they don't have two-factor, what you do is you pick up the phone, you spoof the phone number, that way you call into customer service sees the account holder's phone number, not the crook's phone number, and what do? You simply say, I want to check available balance. You call in, hey, yeah, I need to check available balance on my account. They're going to ask two security questions. One of those security questions may be mother's maiden name. Hopefully, you don't have mother's maiden name. So what do? You say any name with confidence. My last name's Johnson. Johnson! Sorry, sir, that's not what we have. Huh, well, what do you got? Sorry, sir, we're not going to tell you what we've got. Well, look, I don't know what you got, but I know what my mom's name is. What are you guys doing over there? Well, what are they trained to do at that point? They're trained to ask two other security questions that I have the answers to. When I get those right, what do? They change the mother's maiden name to whatever I want them to change it to. Now that is not the purpose of the phone call. That entire conversation, what happens is by me calling in, them seeing the real account holder's phone number on the screen, that builds a base level of trust. If I were to actually come in at that point and say, oh, by the way, I need to update my phone number on file, they would laugh and scoff at me. No, we know that trick. So you don't do that. You call in with that base level of trust, and then you build rapport. You have a problem, you solve the problem together. So by that whole conversation about mother's maiden name, that has established a deeper trust level with customer service. So when the real reason of the phone call comes, which is at the end of the phone call, so I've changed the mother's maiden name to whatever I want it to, I'm getting ready to hang up. Oh, by the way, can you update my phone number on file? Well, sure, we can do that. That is the real reason of the call. Because if I own the phone number, I own the account. Any type of problems that pop up, any type of validation or verification that needs to be done, they call the phone number on file. If I can have the phone number changed, I own the account. That's how you do that when two-factor is not being implemented. If two-factor is there, I love two-factor. Of course, it's stupid to have it done by email, but say it's done by phone. You have to realize that a phone was never built as a security device. So you can't compromise two-factor, but can you compromise the device? Absolutely. Phone porting. Again, this stuff's not rocket science. What I do is I call the phone company, have the phone that's in your pocket shut down, that phone number transferred to a prepaid device I have in my pocket. To do that, I need the phone profile for Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, what have you. I need the PIN number. I need stuff like that. That may be hard to get, or it may not be hard to get. There, it's $15. Takes about 15 minutes to transfer that phone number. You're not given any notice that your phone's being shut down. Meanwhile, I'm milking all the money out of your accounts. One of the more recent ways it's done it, it works right, actually it worked last week with PayPal. They may have changed it. So say someone buys your PayPal login, which is roughly at a high level, they can buy it for $25 or $30. So say someone pays $30 for your PayPal account. They want to make purchases using your account. They're signing on with a brand new device. PayPal recognizes that. They want to send an SMS, some sort of two-factor authentication to verify that you are that real owner. They want to send that SMS to the phone. You don't have the phone profile. So how do you take advantage of that? With PayPal, it's actually pretty easy. What you do is PayPal wants to send you that SMS. You don't have to accept that SMS. You can input another phone number in. As long as the phone number is registered to the account holder, they will allow you to do that and then send the SMS to that number. How hard is that? Walmart, AT&T prepaid, $40. Allows you to do that. The SMS is now sent to the new number you've put in. You can milk all the money out of the account at that. These crimes are not complicated. They're not rocket science. Do we have a time for CMP fraud? We do not. We've got 4 minutes left. Sorry. Conclusion. We are all screwed. It's over. Run for the hills. Best thing you can do is disconnect from all electronics, get a shack and a generator, and hope for the best. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not. Just as cybercrime is not rocket science, it's not complicated to commit it, it's really not complicated to protect yourself against these types of crimes. First of all, you freeze the credit of every single person in the house, including children, because children are the #1 victims of identity theft. As I said, 25%, 1 in 4 kids will be a victim. Medical fraud, tax fraud, synthetic fraud. Freeze the credit of everyone. It's now free as of September 21st. All those credit freezes are free. It is extremely, extremely successful for children. It basically stops that dead because it stops all new account fraud. For adults, understand it stops all new account fraud. Anyone want to take a guess on what the percent of new account fraud is on adults? 4%. 4%. So a credit freeze stops 4% of fraud. Now, those new account fraud numbers are rising quickly this year, but last year it was 4%. So in addition, you have to monitor all accounts. And when I say monitor all accounts, I mean all accounts. Credit, bank, I've got credit twice because it's important. Email accounts, website logins, merchant, all this other stuff. Because it used to be only bank credit card logins had value. Now every single login has value. eBay logins, Apple logins sell for roughly $3 a piece. All these logins have value, so it's important to monitor all accounts. Also place alerts on accounts where you can. For example, Discover Card has a $0 alert, meaning that if a crook buys your Discover Card info and just tests it to see if it's alive, you get a text message saying, hey, someone's trying to use your card, and then you can take advantage of it. Take care of it. It's a process of understanding that you cannot be proactive when cybercrime is around. You have to be, you cannot be reactive, you have to be proactive. You have to take the initiative on these things. If you wait for someone to protect you, you are done. Banks are very good, but they cannot do everything. Credit card companies, security companies are very good. They cannot do everything. You have to take the initiative on this kind of stuff. What else? Strong security for every single person in the house or the company. Why? Because what I can do is I can pick up a phone, spoof a phone number, call in, bypass all internet security, and when I do, who do I talk to? I talk to the lowest paid, least educated member of the group. That group, customer service, taught to make me happy. A cybercriminal is typically not going to talk to CEOs. He doesn't need to get access information or cash. So every single person needs to be trained properly, whether in the home or the business, on security, from the person who signs the checks to the person who sweeps the floor. Team building. Time and time again, I've worked with a lot of companies these days. Time and time again, we see that the fraud department is often known as the no department because engineering, someone like that, will come up with an idea and they're like, oh no, you have no idea what these guys are going to do with that. So it's no, no, no. If you build a team of every single department to talk about fraud, to talk about security, because everyone has an insight and an understanding, you share information across the board. Criminals are all about sharing information. Companies need to be the same way. Apply all updates. That's a good one. Equifax. Equifax. Apply all updates. Do you think the attackers that broke into Equifax knew of the Apache exploit before the update was announced? We know they didn't. They didn't. But they damn sure knew about it as soon as it was announced. Think of an update as this. An update is a broadcast to every single criminal on the planet telling them which door to knock on to get access. Apply all updates. Criminals know that people are slow to do that. So that 400-pound kid screaming for that sandwich with a Matrix background in the back, he goes to sleep one night, program's automated, wakes up the next morning, see where he's got access, Equifax. And he's really happy. Apply all updates. How many people know about DMARC? Few hands. DMARC, Domain Message Authentication Reporting and Conformance. It stops 80% of all phishing attacks. An attacker cannot spoof a company's domain if DMARC is implemented. It's already throughout the EU, it's through the UK, it's coming here. It is a bit complicated to set up, but again, it stops 80% of all phishing attacks. You will be using it in the near future. BYOD, how many people in the room surf Facebook from work? Come on. Thank you, come on. LinkedIn? Anybody do any surfing from work that's not work related? There we go. Understand that the weakest device which accesses your system is exactly how strong your system is. All right? You don't hack a computer. You hack a human using a computer. If you can get that human to click on something, to go somewhere, whatever, and he infects your system with ransomware, you are done. Now, you are not going to stop that human from surfing Facebook, eBay, Amazon, downloading music, whatever you're not going to stop that. So the best thing you can do is make sure you have a line that's not connected to the important data on your network. Institute strong passwords. Here's another one. See how many people raise their hand. How many people use the same password across multiple websites? Come on. It's okay. It's all right. 80% of everyone here does it. It's okay. I guess the people who aren't raising their hand just have broken arms. 80% is the number. How do I know that? I know that because 92% of every breach begins with a phishing attack. I know that because 86% of all spear phishing attacks are successful. 86%. I know that because of one of the largest growing forms of cybercrime is credential stuffing. Criminals know you use the same password. So you may have a level of awareness where you don't fall for that phishing attack coming from Bank of America. Ha! That's a phishing email. I'm not going to fall for that. But say that phishing email comes from Hulu. Is your level of awareness going to be the same? Hulu? Does anyone even use Hulu? The only thing they've got is Handmaid's Tale. No, you're not. But if you use the same password, you're done. Little Bobby, 400 pounds, goes to sleep. Automated program, starts plugging in different websites. Oh, I got his bank account all of a sudden. Change passwords. How many people in the room use password managers? Thank you. That's the answer. We're not taught how to do secure passwords. Password manager takes all of that out of your hands. You just have to remember one major password. It is a bit complicated to set up, a couple of minutes. Once you do it, though, use it for 2 weeks. You will not go back to anything else. Finally, data matters. Data matters. When you report, if you're running a business, IC3, do not use IC3 as your own personal blog to complain. It's important to understand the data that you need to report to build a case for law enforcement. And I am all for, I have served time. I know the benefit of serving time if you're a criminal. It works wonders. I am all for prosecuting wherever possible. When you do not prosecute, the only thing you're doing is you're telling a criminal, hey, we don't do anything about it when you break the law, so come to us. That concludes the presentation. I thank you all for listening, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.